Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Now, here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
And welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. Whether you're tuning in on the radio dial in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM, we welcome you. Also, we welcome those joining us through our online affiliates around the world. We're glad to have all of you with us as well. It's hard to believe. I actually first heard of our next guest some 7 years ago with her autobiography called In My Mother's House. In that time, though, Blaque Diamond has definitely been able to not only keep busy, she started a new children's book series that features a great character we're able to meet named Stacy. And also she's talked about an important topic for her, and that is the topic of adoption. In fact, she has a lot going on leading up into a big event taking place in November. November the 18th is the second annual It's a Family Affair. November, as you all might know, is National Adoption Month. We're going to talk to Blaque Diamond, what it's been like for her to not only raise awareness about adoption, but what is it that led her to even create the character Stacy in the first place. If you heard our last conversation together, she alluded to that a bit. We'll talk to her more about that, as well as, of course, the great things she has going on, including a new book that's an activity and coloring book featuring Stacy as well. Blaque Diamond, hello to you, and welcome back to the program.
Thank you for having me.
The pleasure is definitely all mine. Like I said, can you believe it was actually 2010? The first time you and I spoke, it was about your book, in my mama's house, in my mother's house. And in that book, of course, you kind of shared with us a part of your journey, what it was been like for you to kind of evolve into the person that you are today. But now you're on a different mission. You've been able to share some powerful stories in books for children, dealing with the topic of adoption with the character Stacy. What has that been like for you, Blaque, to not only to be able to have shared your own story, but to share the story now, what is that of so many other people when it comes to adoption and finding a home?
It's totally different than what I thought that it would be. I just thought that I would just put this together for my niece, who is now adopted, who is Stacy. Her and her brother, it came about with her brother asking me why was he in care, in foster care, and I thought due to his age he would know. And he did not know. So I said, wow, I need to explain it to him. I need to tell him his truth. So I decided to tell him what I knew about his being in care. So when I finished with it, I asked him, I said, are you okay? And he said, yes, but looking at him, I didn't think that he was. I said that was a lot to take in, a lot of information that he just found out about. And I knew I wasn't okay after that. I said, so I don't think that he's okay. So I finished talking with him about it, and I looked over his shoulder, and I noticed his younger sister was sitting there. And I said, my gosh, I'm going to have to explain the story to her. But her reason for coming into care was quite different than his, which was the case with all of his siblings. And I said, I just want to make sure that I have it right, so I'm going to write it down. And I wanted it to be in a way where she would understand what's going on and what it took, what it took for Mom to make the decision that she made. And that was in the first book. She named me Stacy. I wanted her to understand that her mother loves her. She loved her enough to let her go and to be able to be in a safe environment. But I needed for her to understand what that journey was for her as well as her mother. So coming to the second book, she wound up in a temporary home, which is a temporary home for Stacy. And we all know that foster care is supposed to be temporary, and unfortunately for all children, it's not temporary. They come in, some at newborns, and don't leave until they age out at 18 or either 21. So we decided to go with, she named me Stacy, and a temporary home for Stacy to follow it up. But the good fortune for Stacy, she was adopted, so she found a forever mommy. So, of course, we can't use the last name of the child, so we just called it Stacy F. And we used the initial, so Stacy F, Forever Mommy. And that's where we came up with the series of the books. We thought that it would be better to break it down because some kids don't wind up coming in as a newborn or coming in at that stage. Some kids go directly into adoption. So it figures it'll be easier to break it up, and breaking it up for anyone who is either a potential foster parent or either adoptive parent or looking to parent a child that's in care. They can pick up any book and make their decision or make it easier for them to understand, because you have adults who don't understand the process. So I wanted to make it
right.
an easy read for them, but with an understanding of what the process and the journey will be for both.
Yeah, and I think what a great thing you've been able to do with that, Blaque, because you've been able to not only to create a series that is entertaining but also informative as well. I mean, could you have imagined though that it would have taken off the way that it did? I know you got a lot of press at the end of last year, going into this new year about talking about this topic of adoption. Now, of course, with National Adoption Month coming up, you have an event that's taking place. Could you have imagined things would snowball the way that they have?
No, I really didn't, because this is such a touchy subject, and in some communities it's taboo where people don't want to talk about social workers. I know I've grown up and heard a lot of people say, oh, don't let the social worker in your house. They'll get into your business. They'll take your children from you. And I also grew up watching Claudine. So I saw how things were at that point in time, but it's not the case. And the ironic part of it is that I am a social worker, so I'm in it on both sides, as being a foster adoptive parent as well as being a social worker. So it made it easier for me to relate and to be able to speak to individuals about being a foster parent, being an adoptive parent, and being a social worker, and really wanting to go out and to make sure that these children are placed in a safe environment in someone's loving home and in their family. So the way that I had started off doing it, it was just something that was for my nieces and my nephews, but then there's others out there who don't know the truth as far as what it would take. I understand we go to classes, because me as a social worker, I had to take classes. But sometimes there's things that are missing. And I see there were questions that I had to even ask while I was there. And now that I know that, I want to make sure that everyone else knows exactly what it would take to be a foster adoptive parent. So the way it has gone across the United States, and people are talking about it more freely and opening up their homes and just asking a lot of questions, and it's making them it makes it a lot easier. It makes it more comfortable on both sides for the foster parent to be able to talk to the social worker, and the social worker to be able to talk to the foster parent, and for them to understand the journey of the child. Because it's not about the social worker doing their job. It's not about the foster parent just taking in the child. It's about the journey of that child. And if you're ready to take that journey with that child, then we appreciate it. I appreciate it.
The other thing I thought about with this conversation with you, Blaque, is that, as I mentioned, you and I first discussed your memoir, In My Mother's House, on this program. And there, of course, you talked to us about the challenges you faced, the difficulties that you had. Do you think those difficulties and challenges, though, are what made you more empathetic to the needs of others?
Yeah, I think it did. I had a conversation with my niece a couple of months ago, and she had told me that she had cancer, breast cancer at the time. And she told me she didn't have much time left. And we sat and we spoke about a lot of things. But what I think that I revealed to her was that I was sorry that I couldn't protect her and other family members for certain things, and those family members were children. And I just felt like I was the one that should have done that for some reason, because I was the aunt. I grew up with my mother's sisters, and it was 16 brothers and sisters that my mother had. And I knew firsthand, I was 8 months old and I was an aunt. And looking at them and knowing what it took to be an aunt and to be like them and taking on that role, I felt as though early on that I needed to do just what they did for me, being an aunt, being a protector. And with what had happened in my mother's house, I felt as though it was my turn to do that when I get the chance, and that chance came about with Stacy and her siblings, for me to be able to do that, to be able to protect them, to be able to make sure that they got a fair shot at life, because it's not their fault. And I want all children to know that anybody that's a victim, it is not your fault for what had happened. I found closure with the individual that caused me my grief, but that person has passed on, and the other person that passed on since then is my niece. She did succumb to her breast cancer, and I just think about her and other victims. She wasn't a victim of that, but just to let her know that I wish that I could have taken her pain away from her with cancer. So I'm going to continue to fight for children, to make sure and hope that others are out there looking at the children to say that, yes, I can open up my home to this child. I can offer them a safe environment, and this is what I want to do, and that it's not about the money, because people get a bad rap thinking that people are taking on foster children for the money. I did it, but I didn't take it on for the money. I was in high school, and I did not want my niece at the time to go into foster care, but I wasn't old enough to take care of her, but so I had to lie. I lied about my age and said I was older than what I was. And with that lie, I was able to raise her. She was about 5 years old. She's now 41 years old. And if I had to do that again, I would. I wouldn't lie about my age so she wouldn't go into care. I wanted her to be raised with the family. And since taking on her, I am now the parent of 12 children, 3 biological of my own, and other foster and adopted children, and they're all relatives' children. And, they've asked me before, would I open my home up? I said, well, right now I'm a little closed right now, because the youngest I have now is 5. And I'm just getting them settled and comfortable, and just continuing with the journey and trying to help other families do restoration, which is what is a big thing with what we have going on, which will be coming up soon as well.
Yeah. Well, you have a big event that's coming up as well in November we're going to talk about. I want to say, for those who are just tuning in, either on the radio side or online, you're listening to Conversations Live. We're excited to welcome Blaque Diamond back to our program today. We're talking with her not only about what it's been like for her to see the response to her children's series dealing with the topic of adoption, featuring the main character, Stacy, but also what it's been like for her to be able to do work that she enjoys and to be able to see the response. The big event you have coming up on Saturday, November the 18th, Blaque, is the second annual It's a Family Affair. Again, that's taking place during National Adoption Month. Talk to us about how the Family Affair came about.
There was information that I felt as though some families and individuals who were interested in being foster parents were not getting. Again, like I said, I had to take the class to be a foster parent, and sitting in there, listening to some of the individuals ask questions. And some of the things were not being said, and some of the things were not being told. And as a social worker, I'm sitting there saying, why aren't they telling them this? Why aren't they giving them this information? They want to become foster parents. There shouldn't be any surprises. So I continued on my journey and went through it. But I said, somebody has to say something. Somebody has to tell them what's going on. It's not like anything should be hidden. But if they're going to put these children in their home, let them know what they should be expecting and what type of children they may get and what they need to do in order to make this an easier journey for the child. So I started talking to some individuals who were asking me about the Stacey F. book and what got me started, and we continued to talk, and they said that they would like to be a foster parent. Could I tell them more? And I continued to run into individuals who continue to do the same thing, that asked questions. So I said, let me do something that's going to bring people together. So I decided to do It's a Family Affair last year, which was our first annual It's a Family Affair. And we have individuals who had come out and wanted to know about the Stacey F. series and my journey and what would it take for them to be a foster parent, and to ask certain questions that they felt as though would not be answered. So I told them I do not represent any agency or organization. What I'm doing is talking from the heart and talking from what I know. And I have gained knowledge from different states and speaking to other social workers in different areas as far as what their laws are and what their rules are and how do they go about it, and what is more prevalent in their area as far as the foster children and putting them in homes and connecting with their parents. So we did it last year, and we had one woman who came in, and she had just lost her daughter, and she had no rights to her granddaughter, and she wanted to know what was her option. So I laid it out to her, and I explained to her how she can either be a foster parent, an adoptive parent, or either she can get custody and guardianship of her granddaughter. She called me back, and she told me she has custody and guardianship of her granddaughter, and I was so happy for her. And she said that she was going to come back this year with some friends who she felt as though was interested in now being foster parents. So we have a panel of individuals who are former foster parents. We have professionals who are social workers, and we have former foster children and adopted children who will be sitting on the panel who will be able to answer those questions. I don't want to be the one to just sit there and talk about my experience. I want them to be able to sit and talk about their truth and what got them involved and where they're at and what they went through. So this way they're actually getting it from people who are not afraid to talk. Because like I said before, it was taboo. to talk about them,
right.
or even to let anybody into your home, or to let anybody know that you have a social service issue or concern and that they came in to see your family. So we're doing restoration, and restoration is restoring the family, bringing it back to where it should be, finding your relatives' children, which is what I did. We understand reunification to reunify the child with their parent, but what about if they're not the biological parent, like in my case? So we're restoring my family, and this is what I want to offer to other individuals, is to restore the family at It's a Family Affair.
Yeah, and what a great thing to be able to do, Blaque, because, I mean, like you said, it's great to be able to stand in the gap for others, to be able to be not only the voice for others, but also to be able to provide a platform. I mean, that's one thing that I'm fortunate to be able to do, to provide a platform for people to have conversations like this, and to be able not only to share their own stories, but also to inspire people along the way. Is that what brings you the most satisfaction about this, knowing that just by your sharing what you're sharing, the information that you are, your own experiences, that you can be able to help people literally around the world?
It's just rewarding to know that somebody's taking in somebody's child, that somebody's offering their home, their love, their time to bring in somebody's child, even if it's just for a short period of time. That makes me feel good. Even if it's just one child, they said that went into a foster home and they're safe. You know, I'm not faulting any parent. There's something that happened that caused this child to come into care. So I'm not going to put that on the parent and say, you did wrong, you should know better. There's something going on with that parent. Get them the help that they need in order for them to be able to move forward. But at the same time, make sure that this child is safe. We offer so many different things through this program. We're also offering parenting classes with the Parent Cafe that'll be coming up next year. So we'll be talking about that hopefully next year as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that means, you know, it's only going to get better and better, you know, each year. And as I said, you know, that's going to be coming up here pretty soon. These months are going by so fast, but it's Saturday, November the 18th. We're going to let our audience know how they can be able to find out more information about that. When people go to your website, which is www.authorblaquediamond.com, you know, they're able to find out more, of course, information about you and, you know, some of the events you've been able to do and what's coming up. But also, of course, under the media section there, you know, they're able to find, you know, some of the stories you've been able to share with other people, and then under the Diamond Shop, able to see your books. Do you still scroll through those books, Blaque Diamond, and say, wow, I've really done a lot in the past couple of years?
When I talk to the children, my children, we just discuss where we want to go, how can we reach people, what we need to tweak, how we need to add to the Stacey F brand. And one of the things we added was lockets now, where when the children go into foster care, some of them may know their biological parent, but if you can get a picture of their biological family to be able to put it in that locket, and each locket is resemblance of the book. So the Stacey F book, She Named Me Stacey, and a Temporary Home for Stacey, each one of them have their own locket. And we would love for these children to have those lockets and be able to put their biological parents' picture in it. If not, if they're adopted, and when they're adopted, their forever family, they can go in there. And we're doing something with the forever families. Once the children are adopted, we have a page called Forever Lane. They can post their forever family pictures on there, and we're going to be trying to do something with that by letting them know they're part of our family, the Stacey F family. We want to have a big barbecue and a big family reunion for them. So that's something that we're working on as well. And there's a lot of things that we just want to be able to reach them with and let them know, because you're in foster care doesn't mean life is over. These are the things that Stacey's doing. You can do them too. So it doesn't stop right here.
I think that is such a great thing to be able to remember for sure. And I think, again, another encouragement as well for people out there as well. You know, you mentioned something earlier. There is a stigma that exists, and it's so interesting to me that in 2017, Blaque, that there are still people, you know, who feel bad about asking for help, letting people know that they need help, and also, of course, that they may not be in a situation where they can take care of a child or loved one. Do you hope you're able to kind of open up that conversation too and let them know it's okay, and actually it's an expression of love to be able to do so?
Yeah, we do. I try to keep it in what some people say is real, or to keep it raw. I just open up myself. I tell them I don't have anything to hide. If there's something you want to know, if I can get the information, I will tell you. I give them my journey. I don't tell them I'm going to tell you a story. I take you on a journey, and I take you from the beginning up until where I'm at. You know, I'm not ashamed to say anything that I've had to do to get to where I'm at. Nothing illegal that'll cause me to go to jail, but there's some things in my past that I'm still dealing with. There's some things that I'm very proud about. There's one particular thing that I talk to some parents about, and some individuals when they come to the parenting classes and come to It's a Family Affair of my journey, and I tell them, look, it wasn't easy for me either. You have to ask for help. I did. I asked for help. I needed the help. I moved to a state that I didn't know anything about at all, and if they read the first book, In My Mother's House, they'll understand why I came to the state that I'm in. But I didn't have a place to go, and I wound up receiving temporary cash assistance, and along with that, I was able to go to school, and I was able to get Section 8. I needed it. I needed a place to stay. I had children, and these weren't foster children. These were my biological children. So I needed that handout, and I asked for help. So, no, I will not say that I never received the handout. I did, but I used it for what I was supposed to use it for. And when I graduated from college with my master's degree, I went back to social services, and I turned that voucher back in, and I said I no longer need it because it helped me, and it was there for just that reason, to get me where I needed to be. I didn't need to stay on welfare and have a master's degree and work and pay $20 in rent when somebody else who really needed it could use it. No, I know my rent now is high, but it makes me feel good to know that I can pay it. And it should make me feel good every day knowing that somebody else is using that voucher. Maybe they're going to do the same thing and turn it in. So to ask for help, that's what social services is there for, to ask for the help. But don't abuse the system at the same time.
Right. Again, we're talking to author Blaque Diamond. She gave us the book. She named me Stacy, A Temporary Home for Stacy. And then the follow-up to that was Stacy F., My Forever Mommy. There's also, if you go to Amazon.com, there is a coloring and activity book. Take us into that 24-page book, Blaque, and what they get with that.
The 24-page book, it's a fun activity book. It's little things that Stacy's doing, the real Stacy F., things that she's doing, things that she would like to do. Where we're headed is to go into another book. We know that children come into care, and when these children are removed from their home or removed from their loved one's home, when they come into care, it's very hard to engage them. You won't be able to get much information from them. So we figured that we're going to create another coloring book that's going to help them relate to the child that's in the book, which is Stacy, and maybe some of Stacy's friends and other people that will be joining Stacy as she continues to journey, and get them to open up, because some of them don't even want to tell you that what their name is. So we're hoping that we can use the book to be able to help them engage. We're hoping that you can find out what happened. So we're hoping that the coloring book will be able to help. But if you purchase the coloring book, Stacy F. also has some crowns that she's going to be giving away with each book.
Okay. So make sure you all go over to Blaque's website. It's www.authorblaqdiamond.com. As I mentioned earlier, there you can find out more information about her upcoming events that we mentioned. You definitely want to be able to mark your calendar for the event that's taking place Saturday, November the 18th. That's going to be the second annual It's a Family Affair. Depending on when you all are listening to us, though, there's also an event in October as well. It's Saturday, October the 7th. That's the 8th annual African American Authors Expo. Blaque's going to be a part of that, and that information is also available there. It's going to be at Morgan State University. So again, if you just bookmark www.authorblaqdiamond.com, you can keep up with the events as well as be able to order the books directly from there as well. Blaque, congratulations to you again. Glad that we got a chance to catch back up, and looking forward to our next conversation together.
Well, hopefully the next conversation you'll have my son, because he just wrote a book. So I'm hoping that everybody will get a chance.
I saw that on Facebook. That's right.
And he did it underneath the African American Authors Expo, Youth Writers Challenge, and they're doing a great job. And he, again, was one of the foster children, and they're doing so well. And I'm just so proud of each and every one of them. And it's just so much talent in these children, and it's just so much that they have to give. And I just hope that people will see that and recognize that what they're hearing about children in foster care is not what's going on with them. Just open up their homes and their hearts and just go in and see about taking on one of these children.
Yeah. Well, we definitely look forward to that conversation, Blaque. Thank you so much for that. And again, keep up the great work, and definitely we'll be checking back in with you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. If you all came in late, you missed part of the conversation with Blaque, don't worry. Thanks to our online friends, you all can catch the replay right after we go off the air. The link is already available through our social media site. So head over to Facebook.com/Cyrus Webb or go over to Twitter.com/Cyrus Webb. If you click on the link there, you can listen to the show completely for free and share it with your friends from there too. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Make sure you take out time to enjoy some good music as well as a great book. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live today. You all make it a great one.